So I am sharing from book one. So these are talks I had with my mentor that at that time. As time goes on, I'll keep getting perspective. Having a couple bad days doesn't make me a failure. And we're always like an airplane, constantly recalibrating. There's this inertia motion system to stay on the right path. Being in a mess some days is part of life, and I'm learning to do what I need for myself. My job is not to be perfect. It is to be staying on course. Defaulting to the pattern that kept us alive, what was the most familiar and nearer of habits in times of stress. And I wrote, for example, it was me going to certain men where I felt I always was wanting to try to make them be happy with me or love me. And versus the future is confident and strength and knowing my feelings are valid. Is this a useful thought, for example? Versus expecting others to validate my feelings or make my thoughts more useful. So one day I'll catch myself in the act, about to do what I had done in the past that hurt. I'm going to say, is this what I really want? No. Getting healthy requires earning it, strengthening like a muscle, not overnight, and can figure it out as I go. It's like learning to walk after a stroke or accident. All the new skills need to integrate, and we're always creating more options. When we follow through, we gain momentum, and some of the ways is which remembering with a therapy or a psychiatrist, lavishing ourselves with music, movies, art, and self-love, doing all the kindness for ourselves that we would do in a relationship. Writing gratitude lists, can't and shouldn't, are just a replaying story versus looking at it the way John Bradshaw with the inner child is like, what fed me and where are their trauma bonds? And then we get to find people who normalize our suffering and see our feelings as valid. And we get to say, are people toxic or not? What do they say? What do they do? How do they make me feel? So in relationships, we put ourselves first, and income to abundance versus poverty consciousness is I am enough. I can entrust myself with me. There's a precious little girl entrusted in my care. What can I do for her? And now I'm going to share on what is truth. Does truth evolve? Sometimes it's not dependent on anything else. And no in reality, but yes, according to our perception as tools. And what's some things that I know for sure in order to connect with the truth? So that's a practice. To get in touch with that, to trust myself that I'm trustworthy and in touch with truth and I have good judgment. This is what I wrote at that time. I think we're talking about at least within the last 5 years. I don't know exactly how long ago. The only thing I truly own are the quality of my actions. Suffering is optional. It's the amount I resist the pain, which is inevitable. I will not have to choose, force, or control what is meant for me. I'm not my body or my thoughts or my emotions, and my true form is my witnessing form. Rejection is protection, and I see my reflection in all. I must do what is natural for me. My true nature is good, light, divine, pure, innocent. I am free the moment I see myself as free. I made it victoriously until this now very instant. And the harshest taskmasters may be very close in my soul group, right? And consenting roles, for everyone to be expediting the learning. So the people who are most challenging could be giving us our best selves. And it can take deep love to be the catalyst of another's growth when suffering is involved. Healing and forgiving and understanding come more easily when we see that we're all acting out plays as instruments with roles together. And if I don't need or want anything or desire from anyone, then I won't be troubled at any lack or unmet expectations. The world is then only going to be a disappointment, like the world looking into the world for myself is only going to bring disappointment, because the purpose of life is to know myself. And, my birth family is not necessarily my soul family, and I'm whoever I permit. And there's value in pragmatism, even with children, and every man is a father and every woman is a mother. That's all it takes. And ego suicide is the only way to rebirth. We don't remember making the duality, but a fingernail can hide the sun if we put it at the right place, right? Negative investments must be understood before the ties are truly cut. And if the source of our happiness doesn't make others happy, then it's transitory, it's a desire. But the only thing I know for sure is that death will be a change, and that healing and liberating is transmissible just via my presence, and I wasn't always innocent. Finally, wherever I go, that's where I am. And I'll share another talk that I had with Michelle, with my mentor at that time, and then one more practice. So from the talk, it was, just for now, a goal is to get out of a hole. And starting to recognize being around someone out of control is triggering when they don't have self-control, and learning not to put all my eggs in one basket. And then I'm starting to require a healthy environment, and I always have options, and I have every right to feel safe and comfortable in my home, and I'm safe. And, hypersensitive people will deflect and attack when criticizing. I don't need to depend on anyone when I'm becoming more confident to handle things and learning to stand up for myself, where my own company is the best and I can choose abundance. As a rule, a tenant is always entitled to quiet enjoyment of their home. And bullying is intolerable. Now I know, that at the time of writing this, I wrote, I never brought anyone who would do this. I refused to be around screaming or attacking people. They must go. But then it happened that somebody I loved became a screaming, attacking person. And then I also had times where I was screaming and attacking. Denial is not coping. And in terms of my parents, they had issues. They punished me for being who I am. It frightened them to have a child turning toward the sun. They turned toward the dark because of this vestigial energy of the Holocaust. And so I wrote, that conversation had a lot of triggers for me. But so I wrote, what is feeling safe and comfortable in my home, my work, and relationships? So in boundaries, I need to think about this before we continue. I'm overwhelmed right now. I need a break. This is making me uncomfortable. I need space. I don't know. I can't spend so much time. I need some time to warm up to that. I need to take it slow. And there's so much to learn from the part of me that wants to hurt or lash out. The one who wishes suffering on others or speaks bad about them. Because trauma led me to betray myself for love. And I cannot betray myself anymore or continue the modeled, conditioned behavior they taught me. And now what work-related specifically, but applies to the rest of the time too. Directness is necessary. Verbal respect is required. Accusatory agendas or constant blaming is inappropriate, and positive feedback is necessary. Screaming only is for alerting danger, and lashing out is unprofessional. Time commitments need to be kept and respected, and micromanaging lowers the performance because people are walking on eggshells. Higher pressure is actually stressful for others. It's doesn't make it cause people to have better performance. I can hold my arms up to everything, to be held and to receive, Father above, Mother below. And these are some realizations I had. So yeah, that was one. I'm worthy of support and damage can be healed. My deepest desire is for connection, unification, and healing takes time. My body is my most devoted best friend forever. And I'm not required to preemptively cut off people if I honor my needs and boundaries all along. Mind control. So meditative, when the mind is getting out of control and I don't feel safe or comfortable and I can't see clearly how to get there. So meditative practices, spiritual practice, a good company, whether it's a supportive meeting, a grief group, for adult survivors of child abuse, addicts, women's group, gathering of Jewish Orthodox, to be, what is it called? Giving each other hope and strength. I also can choose useful potential. Like positive thoughts. I can hone my mind specifically by using focus or study, and limiting all exposure to stimulants and numbers. Anyway, that's enough for today. I hope that this was a good experience for you to receive so much light.